Learn about the 12th Annual American Heart Walk and meet one of its co-chairs. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Santee Cooper. We're focused on the 12th Annual American Heart Walk to be held October 11th at the Myrtle Beach Pavilion in memory of Ashby Ward. And we're visiting with its co-chair, Brad Dean, the Chief Financial Officer at the Chamber. Good morning, Brad.
Good morning, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for being with us this morning. How exciting to think about. We're now less than 4 months from kickoff. Folks will be there 9 a.m. to register, 10 a.m. to walk out on the ocean. Should be a magnificent day.
Countdown has begun. This is going to be the best heart walk ever, bar none.
Absolutely. And I said the Chamber, this is the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce, where Ashby Ward, for a lot of viewers in the PD or in southeastern North Carolina, may not be familiar with Ashby. This is the Chamber of Commerce where he took over at the helm in 1974 and ran until just mid-April when he passed away.
Absolutely. Of course, he was originally from the Florence area, was a TV personality, and blessed us with his talents for 3 decades, and under his leadership, the Chamber has grown, as has this community, and benefited many in your viewing audience.
Absolutely. Brad, real quick about yourself. Are you originally from the area?
No, I actually grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in a small farming community in Illinois, and born and raised there until I went to college.
Where did you attend school, and what did you major in?
University of Illinois. I always had a kind of a passion for business, and I studied business and accounting, and graduated from there and then moved away.
What did you do following graduation? You stay in the Illinois area?
No, interestingly enough, most of the graduates there went to the big accounting firms like Arthur Anderson and those kind. In fact, I had an offer from Arthur Anderson. Family used to tease me about not taking that, and they've stopped that since the Enron scandal.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to get into a real business. So I went to work for General Electric, which had, of course, companies throughout the world, and had a great training program. So it was a good opportunity for a small-town kid to go into some big cities and really learn how to run a business, and great experience. Enjoyed that.
Yeah, where were some of the cities you landed with General Electric?
Boy, as a young person coming out of school with no ties, they sent you all over the place. Spent some time in Europe, spent some time in the Far East, worked in the Northeast, Connecticut quite a bit, and actually ended up in Puerto Rico, of all places.
Is that right? ¿Y hablas español?
No, not at all. That was the problem. They sent me to Puerto Rico. I didn't speak any English, although I learned to decipher budgets in Spanish very well. So it was an interesting opportunity. They had some plants they were thinking of closing down, and got involved in them and helped with some great management teams to turn them around and turn them profitable so we could keep jobs in the local communities.
Right. Well, Brad, what was it General Electric that moved you to Myrtle Beach?
No, actually, in 1993, left GE to join the Rank organization. They had purchased some companies, including Universal Studios and a small little restaurant chain you may have heard of, the Hard Rock Cafe.
Hard Rock Cafe,
They just had a few restaurants. It was very profitable. Of course, when you're selling $16 T-shirts, it's easy to be profitable. And they were looking for some financial management to come in and help take the company to the next level. So I joined them, traveled around, worked in Miami for a while, and then ultimately they decided to open one up here in Myrtle Beach in 1995.
Wow. It was 1995 that the Strand got its first and only Hard Rock Cafe.
That's right.
And that predated Planet Hollywood, All-Star Cafe, everything.
Yeah, it was right around the time Broadway at the Beach was opening up in Myrtle Beach. It really kind of led to an explosion of themed restaurants and other entertainment venues. It was an exciting time to open.
Why do you think the Hard Rock Cafe selected Myrtle Beach as a location in South Carolina? It's the only location. I don't think there's one in North Carolina. Is there one in Georgia? Maybe in...
They had looked at a number of different markets, but the Myrtle Beach area is middle America. It's moms and dads and kids and families coming. They like to buy T-shirts. They like to eat food and have a great time. And, of course, the Hard Rock, whether you're 2 or 82, there's something there to enjoy. And it was also one of the few places where we could build a pyramid. And the original founders had always been fascinated by the timelessness of pyramids and the timelessness of rock and roll. Thought it was a perfect place, and we weren't sure how well it was going to do. I always thought it would do well, and so we kind of ventured into this market not knowing what to expect, but I can safely say it was very successful.
Brad, were you involved at all with the site selection or laying out the location for the spectacular pyramid?
Interesting enough, I did the financial work, and the first time we turned it in, they thought there was a problem with the calculator. They said, there's no way this is going to do the kinds of numbers we're thinking. But when you looked at the market and you realized the people that were coming, particularly from places like Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, didn't have a Hard Rock, as you mentioned, just loads of opportunities. So we did open up, and of course it ended up being one of the most successful ever.
I remember there was an amazing story. There was a guy, Gordon Hirsch, who was at LHWH at the time, and I think was helping out on the opening think he told me there was an occasion where maybe the single kitchen Hard Rock Cafe in Myrtle Beach did bigger numbers than a dual kitchen in, let's say, Orlando or another town. It was a huge summer when they first opened up.
Yeah, it was a tremendous amount of food and beverage going out of there, as well as T-shirts. We set all kinds of records, sales and otherwise. One of the most important records I always thought we generated was the impact in the local community. You know, the impact on the profit and loss statement is important as a business, but when you're able to do something in your local community and raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to benefit people right here in North and South Carolina, that's important too.
Absolutely. What was your position at the Hard Rock Cafe, Brad?
Originally started out in finance, of course, became the opening general manager of the Myrtle Beach, and that encompassed the financial realm as well as the management of personnel and the PR end. So I got actually the angle of the advertising and media that I had never seen before.
Right.
And Hard Rock had a real commitment to the community, that they wanted their management involved in the community. So it enabled me to get to meet people like you. I think we met when I was at Hard Rock.
Exactly right.
That was the opportunity for me to get involved in the community. And having come from a small town, I really appreciated being able to come back to a place that has the big city flavor, but that small town element.
Right. What prompted you to leave Hard Rock Cafe, Brad?
It was the funnest job I've ever had, and probably the funnest job I'll ever have. But at the end of 3 years, it had really exacted a lot of wear and tear on my family. I mean, 14, 15-hour days, 6, 7 days a week. And at the time, I had a young child, and I felt like I had become a good general manager, but at the expense of being a pretty poor father and husband. And I had to reset my priorities. And so Memorial Day of 1998, I notified them I was going to resign. They thought I was joking, thought I just needed some time off. And I worked through the summer, but I had made up my mind. And at the end of the summer of 98, I took a little bit of time off and spent some time with my family to kind of become a better father and a better husband.
Did you look at leaving the area for another position?
We did. I got involved in the healthcare industry just a little bit, and at one point thought I was going to end up just outside of Charlotte, a place called Salisbury. And a good friend of yours, Bernie Dove, came to me and he said, "Don't pack your bags. You're staying in Myrtle Beach." And I said, "Bernie, I've got a job opportunity somewhere else." And he said, "We need you here. He said, you just stick around. We're going to find something for you." And thankfully, we did.
Absolutely. The Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce, just a short time between leaving Hard Rock, as you said, and ending up, you went straight to the Chamber, Brad.
Well, I did a little bit of consulting in the healthcare industry, and right about that time, the Chamber was going through a lot of changes, both internal and external, and it opened up some opportunities that happened to mirror my talents. And, of course, I had been affiliated with the Chamber as a member and a volunteer. This opened up an opportunity to join a great organization filled with wonderful people and probably one of the finest leaders I've ever met. So it was a perfect match to live in a community, work in a community where you really belong and enjoy being, but also to work with some great people and accomplish great things. What's more to like? I think I should be paying them to be there, but you can edit that from the interview. Please do. I don't want to hear that.
Brad, when you and it's so great. It's obviously giving you the time to spend time with your family as well. You mentioned you had a son at the time at Hard Rock. Is that your only child? And your wife?
Got a 9-year-old boy just finishing up 3rd grade, and we've got an 18-month-old daughter now. And that changes your priorities a lot. And in fact, when I left Hard Rock, I think my son I was a stranger to him, but now we've been able to connect, and I'm more of a father. And so you do get a balance, that personal and professional, a little better than I could in the restaurant industry.
And the choice to stay in Myrtle Beach has been a happy one for all.
Absolutely. I think it's the one place my wife and I both enjoy living. She works at Blue Cross Blue Shield and has a great career there. Our son's in school. We love Myrtle Beach, and if I never have to move away, that will be a good thing.
Absolutely, Brad. What was it exactly about the opportunity there at the Chamber that really appealed to you? Bernie's introduction there and saying, we're going to find a way to keep you here, but what was it as you looked at it and thought, is this the right thing for me, as opposed to heading off to Salisbury, which would have been a great area close to Charlotte, Food Lion, a major situation there in Salisbury. What was it that really appealed to you, Brad?
The thing about the Chamber is that it's a diverse perspective. You represent small businesses and large, tourism as well as non-tourism, and it's a great opportunity to make a difference in the community each and every day. Now, it's filled with challenges, but to be part of a great team who's measured simply by the impact you have in the local community, you just can't beat that. If you want to give back to the community and accomplish great things, I don't think there's any better place to be than the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce.
It sure gives you an opportunity to learn about a heck of a lot of different businesses, a heck of a lot of different not-for-profit groups. And speaking of not-for-profit groups, you've been involved in some other community organizations, Brad. What are some other groups you've helped out in the community?
Well, had a real close affiliation with Care Team from the start. Of course, they do a great job at serving people infected and affected by HIV and AIDS. Junior Achievement is one I've gotten involved in recently, and that is a neat experience, although very humbling. There's nothing more humbling than standing in front of a couple dozen teenagers who don't care where you fall in the organization chart or what your business card says, but taking curriculum to help educate them and help plan their futures. The March of Dimes, of course, and I've walked in the Heart Walk, which is one really important because the Heart Association does so much for this local community as well as nationally. So a lot of good organizations to be involved in, and that, of course, being one of them.
Absolutely. And Brad, I'm so glad you mentioned the Heart Walk. Obviously, much of our push today and tomorrow when we're with Sarah and Jill, and of course your co-chair, Graham Edwards, on Wednesday here, the chairman of the board of Santee Cooper, kind of our host for the week. When you think about this year's American Heart Walk and your commitment to serve as co-chair, that's a big deal. Obviously, you've got free time on your own, fortunately. You've got time to commit, but the recognition of honoring Ashby Ward was a big deal. Is that one of the primary reasons you came on board?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, Mr. Ward spent 30 years giving back to a community that he loved so much, and so much of what he did was to benefit people he would never meet, never actually see the benefit. So I think in a way this is probably the perfect way to honor him by giving back to people that we may not know who we're helping, but yet it's very important. And he always took a lot of pride, not just in Horry and Georgetown counties, but the entire North and South Carolina area, because that was our market and those are our people. So I think in a very special way, this one, we hope it's going to be the most successful. We're committed to making it the most successful, and I know somewhere today and on October 11th, he'll be smiling with that big old Ashby Ward grin.
Wow, Brad, those are powerful words. We could almost stop the interview right there. I think you laid out such an important point. Ashby was so involved in helping people that he would never see, that would obviously enjoy the Strand and enjoy South Carolina, even just bringing people to the state. But so many heart disease and stroke victims that we may never see, or that the research will help to hopefully provide a cure. What was it about Ashby Ward that was? Can you share with the viewers a little something about him that was so special, or from the Brad Dean perspective? Obviously, there are a lot of folks at the Chamber. We were at the Chamber focused on Sun Fund a couple of weeks ago. Marilyn Tuning and Carson Benton came in to talk a little bit of Marilyn in particular about her many years working with Ashby at the Chamber. How about from a Brad Dean 5-year perspective? Yeah. What was it that impressed you the most?
Well, and you mentioned 5 years. I consider it a blessed experience to work with such a fine man. I don't know that I'll ever work with a better person. He, of course, was the public persona. He had that beautiful voice and that commanding presence. But behind the scenes, he was the most humble man, but compassionate. And everything he did centered around people. And are we making people better off, whether it's bringing wealth to the community, attracting visitors, or just helping schools and education. He was very centered around helping people, and that was his ultimate measurement. And as he often reminded us, we have to look beyond budgets and profit and loss statements and plans to ask, are we really helping the community? And that was his center point. That was always his leadership and his vision to make a difference in the community. And no matter what he involved himself in, that was the goal.
Mm-hmm. During your almost 5-year tenure now, Brad, can you share with the viewers what maybe your most difficult challenge you faced under his direction?
You know, I think the tragic events after September 11th of 2001 probably presented us with the most challenge. As a nation, of course, we were under attack, and as a people, it tore at the very fabric of our society. Some of the things we took for granted, like freedom and security, we didn't know to send our children to school or to open our mail. So as a people, it was difficult. And on a personal level, I know I lost a very close friend in the World Trade Center, so it affected you in a lot of different ways. But economically, it was a devastating impact. I mean, the president didn't want to travel on Air Force One. Why should anybody else? And Mr. Ward understood the impact. Not that equates to the human loss, but clearly the economic impact could have been devastating to this area. And we were sitting in a meeting just a few weeks after, and we were being bombarded by the competition. Places like Orlando were spending more in a month than we would spend in a year in advertising, trying to attract people there, going right at the heart of our tourist base. We were under siege in many more ways than just at war. And an elected official, I won't mention his name, but your viewers would certainly recognize him, said, "Mr. Ward, what are we going to do to outspend the competition?" And Mr. Ward laughed with only the confidence that you could have after being in that position 30 years. And he said, "We'll never outspend the competition, but we can outsmart them." And from that day forward, the challenge to his team was to think outside that proverbial box, to find ways to benefit this community immediately and effectively. And the charge was there, and certainly the team responded. Jean Ann Brakefield and her team set an all-time record for group room nights. And in a year where corporate meetings had all been shot and canceled, They found ways to work around that and make an impact. Diana Green and her team put together one of the most aggressive advertising campaigns we had ever seen. Bottom line is, he showed us that in the face of adversity, good leaders rise above the challenge. And that certainly was our greatest challenge that I've ever seen us face. But I think in some ways, Greg, it was our greatest victory as well.
Absolutely. Golly, Brad, what a great summation of an amazing challenge there, and to see it overcome. And you think about other chamber goals, other goals that were high on his list. When you think through just getting through that adversity, what were some other goals that were really high on his list?
Well, he, of course, always wanted a great level of service and always challenged us to look for new and better ways to serve the visitors who come. Of course, there's hundreds of thousands of visitors we greet each year. He also wanted us to work hard on I-73. We are the only major vacation destination without an interstate connector. But it's more than just tourists. If we're truly going to diversify our economy and see the kind of growth that we all want to bring high-paying jobs to this area, we need that interstate connector. Mr. Ward knew that it was much needed, much deserved, and long overdue. So we're going to work on that in his absence. It's something that he dedicated himself to for almost 30 years and didn't get to see the fruits of his labor, but we're going to make sure it happens even after he's gone. And there were plenty of other things. I think he wanted us to look for ways beyond just the traditional summer tourists to help round out the economy. Again, it's all about making this a great place to live and work. And we don't want to lose that balance, but certainly we need to make that the top goal.
Absolutely. Brad, before we take a break, can I ask you, do you have a particular memory or favorite story that you could share with the viewers about Ashby?
We, a few years ago, of course, we started planning the Welcome Center, which he had no idea was going to be named after him. And at the same time, Greg, as you probably recall, there was a lot of inward focus. We were competing amongst ourselves. And, of course, the competition for tourists doesn't lie in North Myrtle Beach or Surfside or Myrtle Beach, but sometimes we get a little askew and forget that. And while we were taking a lot of attacks externally, it became very apparent it was going to be tough to fund a Welcome Center. And there's no money in the Welcome Center business. And late one Friday night, I was getting frustrated. I said, the money just isn't working out, Mr. Ward. Maybe this is the right idea and the wrong time. And he said, no. He said, it's there to welcome visitors and to serve the community. He said, it's never the wrong time to do the right thing. And I think that's the thing I'll always remember him for, to hold your head high in the storm and see beyond today to look what could be tomorrow.
Absolutely. Brad, can we take a quick break? I want to talk to you a little more about Ashby. It'll obviously focus on the Heart Walk.
Great.
Okay. We're visiting with Brad Dean, the co-chairman of this year's 2003 American Heart Walk. Welcome back to Carolina People. We're focused on the 12th Annual Heart Walk, to be held at the Myrtle Beach Pavilion on October 11th. Registration at 9, walking starting at 10. And we're visiting with the co-chair, Brad Dean. Brad, thanks again for staying with us.
You keep talking about the Heart Walk, and I'm getting excited about it. I can't wait.
You've got to be. We're less than 4 months now. Think about it. June 16th today, October 11th. This is huge.
It's a big build-up, but it's going to be a great event. We're hoping to get a big turnout, individuals as well as businesses.
Absolutely. And the other big thing is we've gotten some other great folks to volunteer now in positions, even though we're still less than 4 months away. We've lined up a lot of amazing volunteers to help, aside from so many other folks. You think
Absolutely.
about just a couple of weeks ago, there was a meeting at the Chamber. Sarah Moore, who'll be in tomorrow, kicking off logistics. Jill Watts and Mike Pumo from TV13. Jill Watts from Santee Cooper, co-chairing the communications side. Doug Wendell and Susan Cohen from Burroughs and Chapin helping out on sponsorships. It's amazing. Randall Wallace and the county councilman, the gentleman stepping up to the plate. It's amazing.
Yeah, and of course Graham Edwards will be on your show later this week. And Graham, when he saw the goal, he laughed at it. He said, "We're going to blow this goal away." He said, "It's going to be the best Heart Walk we've ever seen."
Yes, absolutely. You know, I can't wait for him to talk on Wednesday. That'll be fun. You mentioned just a minute ago before we went to break, Brad, about the visitor center up in Aner, and that being named. At the time when you were talking about it in Ashby's point there, he did not know it was going to be named in his honor, did he?
No. If we had told him, that would have stopped it right there.
Right.
In fact, there were just a handful of people who knew. It was the most amazing accomplishment was that we kept the secret in Horry County of that magnitude. He was absolutely floored and speechless, to say the least. And he begged us to change our mind, but there's no better name to be on a place that's going to welcome visitors for years and years to come than the Ashby Ward Welcome Center.
Absolutely. And that'll be it, whether with the goal that I-73 will at some point come through, it will still be the Welcome Center no matter what.
We're hoping they'll drive down the Ashby Ward Interstate and stop off at the Ashby Ward Welcome Center and then have a great vacation.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Brad. There's a universal feeling of loss throughout the chamber and obviously the community on Mr. Ward's passing. What did he do that enabled him to touch everyone who worked with him?
You know, I think it was said best by one of the journalists who covered the events shortly after his death. She said he climbed to the top of his profession, not on the backs of others, but by their side. And it didn't matter whether you were the chief financial officer or you worked in the mailroom, whether you were a member, a board of directors, a chairperson, a media, a consultant, whoever you were, Mr. Ward made the time and extended the kind of respect. You know the old golden rule, treat people as you want to be treated. Mm-hmm. Mr. Ward treated them better than he wanted to treat him. And I think that's what enabled him to always make people feel like they were working with him, not for him, and always accomplishing something greater than any of us could have done on our own.
Absolutely. Brad, did he share with chamber staff as well as with the community his commitment to give back to the community? Did he share that as the charitable cause that he would support?
Absolutely. He always understood as a chamber that we had to maintain some neutrality. You know, if you contribute to one charity, you contribute to the others. But I know he was committed to the Heart Association. I think he walked in the Heart Walk a couple of times. And, of course, other good causes, the United Way amongst them. And he was also very committed in his church. You know, the interesting thing is that we'd always hear people say, I saw you when you were on the Captain Ashby show as a child. What people don't realize is that at least once a week somebody would come in and say, Mr. Ward, you don't remember me, but I was in one of your Sunday school classes, because he taught Sunday school for 40 years. So his commitment was as much through his actions as through his words.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. October 11th, co-chairman's responsibilities. For viewers who may not understand the responsibilities for the co-chairman, you and Graham, what does that entail, Brad?
Well, the real work is done by the Heart Association staff. Emily and Tammy and that group really pull this event together. Mm-hmm. I think our job is important in the sense to get the community excited. This is a really important cause, and I think at last numbers I saw, not only is it a leading killer, I think it's like 2 out of every 5 deaths in the United States are related to heart disease. If there's anybody watching the show who hasn't been affected by heart disease directly or indirectly, they should consider themselves lucky, because it's an equal opportunity disease. It kills regardless of gender, race, and age. So I think our job is to get people excited about accomplishing something, to line up businesses who want to support us financially and otherwise, as well as to get individuals. You know, most of the money is raised by people just like the ones at home today who are watching, who knock door to door and raise a few dollars here and a few dollars there. Now, they do it in a lot of different ways, but it's really our role to bring the community together and give this a real personal touch. The hard work is done by the others, but we're counting on people to support this because it's the right thing to do.
And the great thing, Brad, there's some magnificent incentives for walkers. Viewers today or other viewers, there's incentives of $1,000 for the top individual walker, whether that individual is part of a team or not, pushing a team goal up. $500 for the cash for the second largest walker, second largest funds raised for walkers, as well as so many other items that can be given just in helping the American Heart Association.
Well, there's all kinds of really neat prizes. I didn't realize till I got into it. I'm hoping they're going to leave some of those for the co-chairs, because there's some neat pulls there. But there's also food the day of the event. I mean, this is a fun event. It's for a very serious cause, and we don't want to lose sight of that. But I can't think of a better way to spend October 11th than eating some free food, walking on a beautiful beach, and maybe walking home with a nice prize or two.
Absolutely. Brandon, will there be some other events that day, October 11th, planned to commemorate the special recognition for Ashby?
We're hoping so. Of course, it's a little early now. We're encouraging those who would like to host what they call wraparound events or any other events. There's a restaurant who I won't name, but they put a lot of guitars on the wall and play loud rock and roll music, and they've indicated they might host a concert. And I think there's going to be a lot of events that will come about as part of this. Of course, if they can happen on October 11th, great, but there's no need to limit that. I think we can make this an extended event that a lot of people in the community can get involved in. I'm hoping that we'll hear some of those soon.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you pointed out, Brad, the Chamber has to keep some level of neutrality in charities they get involved with. If Mrs. Ward Ashby's wife and family had not determined that they would sign on in helping to honor Ashby and his memory here, it would have been a lot. I mean, we couldn't have just, the Heart Association couldn't force it on the community. It had to be accepted. Of course, Ashby's passing had to do with heart disease.
Well, it was a great opportunity, and the family, of course, endorsed that. The Chamber will continue to work and support all the nonprofits as we've always done, but this is a really important cause for the Ward family. And you know, he gave so much back to this community. We couldn't honor him enough, but to band together and to do as he did, to bring people together for a common cause and make a difference right here, I don't think there's any better way to pay back his memory than to do that.
Absolutely. Brad, do you think a lot of your colleagues will be out to walk it on the 11th?
Absolutely. They're going to be there in full force. In fact, we've invited every Chamber of Commerce, whether it's organizations, it's individuals, to walk together. There's no organizational boundaries that day. I'm hoping to be there with my family on one side and Mrs. Ward on the other, and I'm sure we're going to see you and others out there. We're hoping that all the local media will show up. This should be a community event.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Real quick, Brad, how do you reach out to companies to get involved? Are there still some sponsorship opportunities available?
Well, they are, but they're going fast. I think we've already signed up the top sponsor, as well as Santee Cooper has signed up, and there's been a few others. There are still some opportunities. And the interesting thing is the different dollars and different levels of sponsorship, but they all involve a lot of promotional opportunities. So it's actually a great opportunity for businesses. There's also an opportunity for a lot of wraparound events, and we've got some ideas on that. So I'm hoping that businesses that might want to get involved, big or small, will take the opportunity to call the Chamber or the Heart Association and see what they can do.
Absolutely. Brad, we've got to wrap it. You think about all your years both in the Chamber as well as General Electric and at Hard Rock. You think about all the inspirations of giving back to the community. Has there been someone in particular that has inspired you to help make this commitment to give back to the community?
Well, clearly Ashby Ward was one of the greatest inspirations in my life, and you don't ever lose that inspiration. You carry that with you. And I'll tell you, one of the greatest inspirations for me as well is my 9-year-old son, because children remind us each and every day of the importance of optimism and enthusiasm. This goal, this Heart Association, will help children in our counties and states as they educate children in schools. So we're not only helping ourselves, we're helping our children, and I think that's a great inspiration right there.
Absolutely. The co-chair of this year's walk, inspired by his 9-year-old son, as well as by the man whose memory will be recognized on October 11th as thousands get out at the Myrtle Beach Pavilion to walk up to 3 miles to support the American Heart Association. Brad Dean, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. We want to thank Brad Dean for making today's Carolina People so special. The date's October 11th, the place, the Myrtle Beach Pavilion, the American Heart Walk in memory of Ashby Ward. Get out there and call 843-626-3939 for more information.